The downward I can't even say it. The downward spiral of Ryback main events to Mukbang. Now I see that him and Kicking It with Ross are like kind of beefing or whatever. I don't really know fully what's going on, but you know, I like to be nosy and mind other people's business. So we might get into that just because I really want to know, like, how did this happen? How did it start? I'm pretty sure I'm probably not going to find out by watching this video, but yeah, I did see that he has a couple of videos. I didn't watch any of them, but I did see that there's like some videos he made about Ryback, probably just giving like a basic reaction like all of us do. And I'm guessing maybe Ryback saw something that he didn't like. I don't know how this shit started, but this did pop up in my recommended, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna invest and see like what is going on, because I'm nosy. So yeah, let's watch.
In the early 2010s, no young star looked to be as dominant as Ryback. Compared to Goldberg before he got the gray hair, Ryback went on an undefeated streak that showcased a level of power and intensity not seen in WWE in quite some time. However, over the years, many fans have soured their opinion on him, and despite him having a pretty exciting run in WWE, his post-WWE life has made fans fall out of love with Ryback as he shouts "Feed me more" into the void of obscurity. But my name is Greece from Wrestleology, and today let us take a look at how Ryback's downward spiral made him go from being one of the WWE's hottest stars to a joke amongst wrestling fans. Over the first few years in his time in WWE, Ryback, aka Ryan Reeves, appeared a handful of times on screen before making it big. First, he was a part of the $1 Million Tough Enough, where despite his impressive physique, he would quickly be pulled out due to injury. A great start there, however, he did end up as a finalist, being last eliminated from the competition. Despite this though, he was still signed to WWE and sent down to OVW, soon winning the OVW Championship. And after several years of working for OVW and FCW, he would be called upon to take part in another show similar to Tough Enough called NXT. But this was during the first season of the game show version of NXT, where contestants would compete over several weeks for a WWE contract. But while the renamed Skip Sheffield was eliminated off the show, Skip would soon be back on screen not too long after this in a major angle, alongside Wade Barrett, David Otunga, Michael McGillicuddy, Justin Gabriel, Heath Slater, Michael Tarver, Darren Young, and Daniel Bryan for a brief stint. The Nexus would take over Raw in dominating fashion. But you probably know the story of the Nexus by this point. If you don't, I might have to make a video on it. But pretty much while having a hot start, the faction died off months later at the hands of John Cena, with Skip suffering an ankle injury that kept him away from the ring for over a year. In his absence, however, Skip would redesign his persona, renaming himself as Ryback in homage to his time in OVW. He would return with a dominating new look. And upon his debut as Ryback, fans watching in April of 2012 were treated with an intense and powerful fake as he decimated jobbers. This level of dominance, while reminding many of Goldberg, also helped Ryback get over to a level similar to that of Bill Goldberg, with him going on a mini undefeated streak and looking like an unstoppable force. His victories became more and more impressive over the weeks as he began taking on multiple jobbers at once, beating them with ease, and with a catchphrase of "feed me more" that helped him get over even more because fans were just eating up everything that Ryback could dish out. And as Ryback's popularity grew, CM Punk's run as WWE Champion was starting to heat up as well, following a massive heel turn on The Rock. This, alongside Punk's blatant disrespect of legends like Bret Hart and Mick Foley, made him the most hated man in the company. But when Punk started berating Jim Ross, that's when Ryback decided to make his presence known. With over 30 wins under his belt and not a single loss to his name, Ryback positioned himself as the #1 contender for the WWE Championship, with the crowd exploding in excitement every time he went face to face with Punk. But when they finally had their match at Hell in a Cell, Ryback would be screwed out of the title by referee Brad Maddox, ending his undefeated streak at 38-1. Also, quick side note, I made a whole video on Brad Maddox. You should check it out on the channel. But yeah, Punk and Ryback would continue their rivalry for several months, with Punk continuously screwing Ryback out of the title picture. After temporarily leaving the title picture, Ryback would begin a new feud walking into WrestleMania 29. Facing Mark Henry at the show, Ryback suffered a loss to Henry in the meatiest match of the night. And after this string of losses, Ryback would still target the WWE Championship, this time held by John Cena. So on the Raw after Mania, Ryback would make his intentions clear by turning heel on John, emphasizing the dangerous threat the champion was forced to deal with as Ryback looked to become the company's next main event heel. Their match ended in memorial fashion at Extreme Rules, where Ryback, in looking to destroy the seemingly invincible Superman, drove both himself and Cena into the stage, breaking through the backdrop in perhaps Ryback's biggest moment in the company. Neither man would be able to get up for the count of 10, leading this last man standing match to a no contest, and Ryback would fail to capture the gold in their rematch at Payback, with this being Ryback's last taste of a WWE Championship title opportunity. But after this, Ryback soon formed an alliance with Paul Heyman a few months later, bullying the WWE roster alongside Heyman. He would help Paul in his war against CM Punk, with Punk and Ryback once again sharing the ring as the roles were reversed this time. Punk, now a babyface, was able to defeat Ryback at both Battleground and Hell in a Cell 2013 before concluding the rivalry by making Ryback tap out for the first time ever on Raw. After this, Heyman started berating him for these losses to Punk, and the two went their own separate ways. And after leaving Heyman behind, Ryback would form a team with Curtis Axel. Not only were they both former members of the Nexus, which is a pretty cool fun fact, but the two also shared a hatred for Heyman, as Axel was previously replaced by Ryback after failing to defeat Punk in his own right. The team, going by the name Rybaxel, do little to nothing during their run in 2014, with the team quietly splitting after Ryback underwent hernia surgery. Upon his return to the ring, Ryback returned to the old feed me more gimmick as a good guy, but found himself continuing to struggle throughout the months. He was a perfectly average WWE superstar now, with his position on the card, while pretty guaranteed, never really helping him get over again. And despite being a part of the Red Hot Team Authority versus Team Cena Survivor Series match, the one with Sting's WWE debut, Ryback still found himself middling around the card. On pay-per-view, he would lose time and time again against the Authority before transitioning into losing to Bray at Payback 2015. Eventually, Ryback's perseverance was rewarded with the Intercontinental Championship, winning at Elimination Chamber in what is widely considered the worst chamber match of all time. This run as champion was nothing special, to be honest. After successfully defending the belt at SummerSlam in a triple threat match, Ryback began a feud with the recently debuted Kevin Owens, losing the championship in the process. Following this loss, Ryback continued to just sorta hang around in the mid-card, feuding with the likes of Rusev and Eric Rowan. However, despite another heel turn and attempt to spark life into his character, Ryback still failed to capture much attention. This heel turn probably helped fans even more against the character, with him ditching the singlet in favor of some black trunks, looking even more like a knockoff Goldberg. Despite getting a few chances to win the United States Championship from Kalisto, raise your hands if you remember that reign, he still failed to capture any momentum. After what has now been years of just hanging around the mid-card with no real direction, Ryback decided to request his release, leaving the company on August 8th, 2016. Just looking at his time in WWE, it is hard to say that it was a bad run by any means. While he was one of the most over babyfaces on the roster, heading into a feud for the WWE Championship, the rest of his career was, I guess you could say, average. Like, he had a pretty decent run, all things considered, and while WWE dropped the ball massively when he became one of the most popular good guys, a few things really stood in the way. Sure, it's easy to point out all of his injuries as a cause of this, but some outside factors really tanked people's perception of him. And by outside factors, we should probably start with CM Punk. After walking out of WWE in 2014, Punk dropped a now infamous podcast that went through all of his problems with the company. And as he held nothing back when talking about Vince, Triple H, and more, one guy he seemed to have a big problem with was Ryback, continuously calling him out as a bad worker, with Punk outright calling him dangerous in the ring. Many fans that heard the podcast started to turn on Ryback over these comments, and when nobody seemed to defend Ryback, with many in the business even saying that Punk's comments were true about how dangerous of a worker he is, the fans watching just started to distance themselves from from Ryback. Combine that with a gimmick that got stale and fans were just sick of him. Especially at the time that WWE's work rate was increasing overall, with the black and gold NXT starting to explode in popularity, fans just stopped wanting to see wrestlers who, in many's eyes, couldn't wrestle too well. And then we get to everything that happened after this run. While his time in WWE could have been left as is, Ryback has spent years ruining his reputation in the wrestling community, taking to Twitter to say some pretty awful stuff about WWE, completely cutting ties with his former employers. He described many failed promises, including a major push as a top heel and even a victory over AJ Styles at WrestleMania 32. In case you were wondering, this was AJ's first ever WrestleMania match, and Ryback fought on the pre-show as many fans were still entering the arena, leaving his match against Kalisto to look like it was fought in 2020 during the pandemic era. This infuriated the man, and when he refused to sign over certain trademarks for the character to WWE, he could see that this situation was not going to improve and left. To stick it to WWE even more, Ryan Reeves legally changed his name to Ryback Reeves, keeping the Ryback name to use during his inconsequential run on the indies. But despite having a new name, Ryback's resentment towards WWE stuck with him, as shown throughout his Twitter account. Specifically, I want to address the tweet made shortly after his release. There, he decided to go after Vince McMahon himself, even going so far as to publicly wish death on McMahon, while also bringing up
it was always the talent. He just created a platform as a human circus that he modified from his father. The guy is a piece of can't stress this enough. World will be a better place when he passes. Damn, this isn't wishing death, but stating an opinion I believe to be true.
Publicly wished death on McMahon, while also bringing up alleged abuse Vince went through as a child as a reason for Vince's control problems. A lot of it was pretty gross stuff to read, even if Vince is a total piece of garbage. These low blow comments about, at the time, the most powerful man in WWE went far past just any booking problems, and the highly personal animosity showcased by Ryback was pretty awkward for fans to read. From there, among other things we'll get into in a moment, Ryback went to places like YouTube and TikTok to try and keep his name relevant. However, as he uploaded things like mukbang videos and live streams, fans started to take him less and less seriously, as these attempts to stay relevant were pretty transparent. At the end of the day, Ryback is a clout chaser, and he continues to prove that by bringing up anything relevant in wrestling to try and cling on to that popularity. Ryback just kept burying himself deeper and deeper, talking about CM Punk, with Punk being a huge reason for his departure in his mind. It's clear he still holds a lot of resentment towards him. His hatred has blindsided him, and with comments like, if Punk returns to WWE, I'd retire, biting him in the ass now that Punk is back in the company. And well, Ryback is still around on Twitter, trying to backtrack his statements about retirement now that Punk has returned, losing even more of his credibility. Following all of this controversy, fans were pretty done with Ryback. In a now hilariously infamous poll,
what promotion would you like to see me return to in 21? They said retire. 14 said AEW, NXT 8%, Impact 6%. Just retire. Don't come back.
Posted by Ryback himself, the question was asked, where did wrestling fans want to see Ryback next? Well, he was shell-shocked to see an overwhelming amount of people telling him to just retire from wrestling. Yeah, not even followers of Ryback wanted to see him wrestle anymore, as many fans just wanted to see him close this chapter of his life that he almost toxically holds on to. But then he decided to just repost the poll.
Due to fraudulent votes from the last poll, we have to redo where you want to see Ryback return. Is this him writing this? This is him writing this, right? Baby, they've made their decision. They said, bruh, just go get your CDL. That's what they said. That's basically what they said. Just go get the CDLs, bruh. Don't come back. These are not bots. This is not fraudulent. These are actual people. Oh, this is embarrassing.
getting a similar reaction with legions of wrestling fans telling him to just give it up. So while Ryback's career may have been better than some, the post-WWE comments made both about and by him have tanked the possibility for a return. When he entered WWE, he had everything he needed to become a big star: the look, the explosive offense, and even a catchphrase. But as fans have learned more about how unsafe he is in the ring, combined with his unfavorable comments on social media, they all have turned away from him to let his reputation die. He showed promise in the beginning, with fans initially latching onto him. We as fans are sick of Ryback, and wrestling does not need another guy like him in the business. We don't need a world filled with hate speech, especially in the wrestling renaissance that we're in. And we certainly don't need another Goldberg clone that's dangerous in the ring. Feed me more? I don't know. Something tells me that we've pretty much had our fill. Thanks for watching.
Can you imagine if he came back, especially after all them tweets? That would be a toxic, scary environment. Like, especially considering the fact that he has such animosity towards Punk, and we know how Punk's personality is. So can you see that? That would be dangerous, bro. So yeah, keep him far away. But it's sad. Like, at some point, I kind of understand like his frustration or whatever. But at the same time, bro, how do you go from being where you were to mukbangs and now beefing with YouTubers? Like, there's so many things that you could have done outside of wrestling, outside of WWE. You could have done hosting. You know, you could have started your own show. Like, I don't want to see you fucking eating and engorging yourself. Like, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see you do that. You doing what fucking social media influencers are doing. What are you doing? He could have done he could have done so many things. Like I said with the hosting, like Austin, he did he got some show called the Broken Skull Challenge or something. Austin's Broken Skull. I don't know what it is. I never watched it before, but I just know that Austin did something outside of WWE. Like, he could have done something other than this. Yeah, he don't need to come back. He just sounds very, very bitter, and this is sad. I didn't know it was that. I didn't know it was this bad. This is embarrassing. Now you beefing with Ross, a YouTuber. Like, come on, son. I guess that's gonna do it for this reaction, y'all. Make sure y'all leave some likes and comments down below. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see y'all in the next one. Toodles.